I grew up in a small, traditional Brahmin family in southern India, where daily rituals shaped the rhythm of our lives and unspoken rules quietly dictated how we saw the world. Our home was filled with rituals, temple visits, and customs that we followed every single day, even the small ones. We were Brahmins, and though we didn't openly talk much about caste, I could feel how it quietly influenced who we talked to, who we invited home, and what kind of futures we were expected to pursue. From a very young age, I was told things about Muslims that made them seem like strangers or even dangerous. I didn't hate them, I simply didn't know any personally. I believed what I heard from relatives, neighbors, teachers, and even TV shows. To me, Islam was something foreign, something far away. My school days were filled with books, prayers, and the sound of my mother's voice calling me for breakfast. I was a good student, quiet but curious. I loved reading, especially stories about people from different lands and beliefs. But my curiosity was always kept in check by the fear of stepping outside the boundaries set for me. In school, during festivals like Navratri or Diwali, we dressed in our best clothes, lit oil lamps, and participated in dances and rituals that were meant to bring blessings and ward off negativity. It was beautiful in its own way, but I often felt like I was going through the motions without really understanding why. College was my first taste of freedom. I studied commerce in a nearby town, staying in a girls' hostel. That period of my life was filled with both excitement and questions. I met people from different castes and states, and my world began to widen slightly. But even then, my understanding of religion and identity remained mostly shaped by what I had been taught at home. At festivals like Pongal or Ganesh Chaturthi, we gathered with joy, prepared traditional dishes, and visited temples. I loved the colors, the lights, the sense of community, but a part of me still wondered if there was something more, something deeper than rituals passed down without question. As I entered my early 20s, I started feeling like my life was too predictable and limited. I was studying, helping my mother at home, and living the same routine every single day. But deep inside, I wanted something more. I didn't know what that more was, but I felt it strongly. Every night, I lay awake thinking about how I could support my family and find purpose. It felt like the walls of our little house were closing in, but then a door opened. Everything changed when my father fell seriously ill. He could no longer work, and the financial pressure on our family became unbearable. I was the eldest daughter, and I knew I had to help. By some miracle, I got a job offer from a friend's contact in Dubai. It was for a receptionist position at an international company. I was scared. I had never even been on an airplane before, but my parents encouraged me, trusting me to be strong. I gathered all my courage, packed a suitcase, kissed my father's fragile hand, hugged my weeping mother, and boarded a flight to a completely new world alone, uncertain but determined. Dubai was dazzling, huge buildings, clean roads, lights everywhere, and people from all over the world. But what struck me the most wasn't just how advanced it was how present faith was in daily life. I noticed prayer rooms in malls and offices. I heard the adhan, the call to prayer, echo through the city multiple times a day. My workplace had people from Egypt, Sudan, Pakistan, Indonesia, and many other places, and most of them were Muslim. At first, I was quiet and reserved. I didn't want to say anything wrong. I observed more than I spoke. I watched my colleagues greet each other with "Assalamu alaikum" and step away from their desks when it was time to pray. They dressed modestly and carried themselves with a calm confidence I had never seen before. Confidence not built on pride, but on something deeper, something serene. I didn't feel excluded or judged, if anything. They were warm and polite, especially one woman named Fatima. Fatima had a calmness about her. She wore a hijab and always smiled kindly. One afternoon, I forgot my lunch at home and felt embarrassed. Without hesitation, she shared her food with me. "Eat, you need energy to work," she said. Her gesture was simple, but it touched me deeply. From then on, we slowly became friends. I started noticing how Muslim co-workers always made time for their prayers, no matter how busy work got. They would excuse themselves gently and return with a renewed calm. I began to feel curious. I wondered what made them so peaceful and focused. Why did they look so content, even when they were fasting in the hot Dubai summer? When Ramadan came, I watched in awe. They fasted all day without complaining. They continued working and smiling. One evening, Fatima invited me to her house for iftar. I hesitated at first, but finally said yes. Her home was filled with the smell of delicious food and the sounds of laughter and prayer. Her family welcomed me like I was one of their own. After dinner, we sat and talked. I asked her questions: why she wore the hijab, why she prayed 5 times a day, why she fasted. Her answers were thoughtful and gentle. She wasn't trying to convince me. She was simply sharing. She told me about Islam's focus on intention, on connection with the Creator, on kindness and humility. A few days later, she handed me an English translation of the Quran. I thanked her politely and placed it in my drawer. I didn't open it for weeks, but something kept pulling me toward it. One quiet evening, after a long and tiring day, I finally opened it and read the first verse. "In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate." I froze. How could words from a book I was taught to fear feel so gentle? These were not the words I had expected. They weren't harsh or fearful. They were soft, beautiful, full of mercy. I kept reading. The Quran wasn't just a holy book filled with commandments. It asked questions. It made me reflect. It was like it was speaking directly to me, gently challenging me to think about life, death, purpose, and truth. One verse struck me deeply. Do they not reflect upon themselves? Allah created the heavens and the earth and everything in between in truth and for an appointed term. Yet many people deny the meeting with their Lord. Quran 38. I couldn't hold back my tears. That verse felt like it was asking me to wake up, to stop living on autopilot. I had always just followed what my family and society told me. But here was a book encouraging me to think for myself, to search, to feel. That night, I tried to pray like Muslims do. I had seen the movements many times. I didn't know the Arabic words, but I bowed down and placed my forehead on the ground. In that moment, I whispered, "God, if you're real, if you're listening, please guide me. I don't want to follow blindly. I want to follow the truth." I sat there for a long time, feeling something I can't explain. A calmness, a softness, a light in my chest. Over the next few months, I kept learning quietly. I watched videos. I read more from the Quran. I even fasted during a few days of Ramadan to understand what it felt like. I didn't tell anyone. It was just between me and the one I was seeking. I started covering my head during prayer and saying little du'as in my heart. I wasn't doing it for anyone else. I wasn't in love. I wasn't pressured. I was drawn to the peace Islam offered. Then came the day I couldn't wait any longer. I locked my door, stood in front of the mirror, and stared at my reflection, still me, yet somehow different. My heart was racing. And then, in a trembling voice, I said the Shahada, Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. I repeated it again, slowly. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Tears streamed down my face. I felt like I had come home. Like I had found the missing piece I never knew was missing. I chose the name Maryam, inspired by the mother of Prophet Isa, Jesus, a woman honored in the Quran. Telling my family was hard. I didn't tell them right away. I knew they wouldn't understand. But I also knew that I couldn't live a lie. I prayed for courage and the right moment. When I finally told my younger sister, she was shocked, but she saw the sincerity in my eyes. It took time, but eventually, I hope my whole family will understand. I will never stop loving them. Now, I wear the hijab proudly. I pray 5 times a day, sometimes struggling with the early morning one, but I never skip it. I fast the whole month of Ramadan, and I try to follow the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, as best as I can. I still have a lot to learn, but I know now that I have direction. Islam brought me peace, purpose, and a deeper connection to my Creator. I'm no longer lost. I know who I am. I know who my Lord is. And every single day, I thank Allah for guiding me to the truth far away from home, in a place I never expected, surrounded by strangers who became the light to my path. To anyone searching, don't ignore your questions. Let your heart ask. Let your mind explore. Truth has a way of finding you when you're honest and sincere. It found me, a Hindu girl from India, in the middle of Dubai, and changed my life forever. The journey isn't over. Every day, I'm still learning, still growing, but now I walk with purpose and with peace in my heart.